what they learned, if they would do anything differently, and we won't take too long because I believe some of you need to be elsewhere fairly soon. So maybe start with the scientists.
Okay, thank you. From my experience as an author in our group, there is no resistance anymore. And we already discussed with other teams in our group also that most of this, all of this representatives, there is no resistance to the author. Thank you.
What did you learn in the exercise? Did you learn anything? Or was it a waste of your time talking to ignorant people?
Yeah. Well, we try to know each other. I mean, from the point of, as a representative, as our, for example, for our government and other people that may have their own rule, so we can share. We share each other about this. I think this is the main point.
Right.
Maybe.
So you might be there might be some more restrictions on how you do things. Is that one of the things that came out of the discussion? Were people reassured about how you contain the work, the virus? Okay. This will do the government regulatory agency. Somebody?
Yes, the government should regulate this activity. Yes, but in Indonesia we also already have an agreement which is published in our book by the Academy on the conduct in biosecurity. Just after the Dutch booklet was published in 2007, we have done it and published just May this year. But regarding dissemination of disinformation is still coming. It's not happening now yet. We try to pick up what part should be the object of our dissemination of this information. But public policy, a publication policy is part of the Code of Conduct on Biosecurity, of course. And publication policy is not only a concern of the public, it's also a concern of the government. So we should also come into regulating the publication policy, whether this kind of research dual use research of concern, or whether it is how do you call it again? RCS. No. RCS is
Responsible conduct of science.
Responsible conduct of science is part of the regulation which should be done by the by bodies, government body or else. Another point is that before an article is published in the journal editor is also responsible for whether or not that article should be published in his journal. So the public editors of these reputable journals should come together and have a body deciding whether they agree or not agree on the regulation, which articles should be published in their respective journals or not. Like you have in the UK, the Office of Research Integrity is a body formed by the editors of the reputable journals in your country, in the UK. What notice again, you mentioned this morning, the ICMGE does not exist in Indonesia, but we should go to that direction as well. And also the one in the United States, Pak Jim Ko, the Commission on Publication Ethics. It's also, it's a combination, it's by the government and by the editors of the journals. We are not familiar with that kind of bodies, but we should go to the direction, and that's part of the government should think about.
So it sounds as if you have a lot of work to do as a government agency. You're a sort of work in progress, we might say, right? WHO.
I try to summarize the discussion that we have had. As WHO, actually, there are many activities have been done in the prevention as well as for the eradication, stop the avian influenza infections. Through first, WHO already facilitate capacity building to help personnel for many laboratory, and according to the international standard for diagnostic, and they also provide some referral diagnostic at the regional area of Indonesia, and also provide confirmatory diagnostic for avian influenza. Second, WHO also advocate and facilitate as well as strongly advise to develop or to have a national risk assessment of avian influenza. And then thirdly, WHO also provides some information regarding global assessment on avian influenza, and also provide policy brief to be given to the government to decision-making policy to balance about controversial issues. And then
Because this is an international issue and not just local to Indonesia, this is why the WHO should be doing this.
Yes, I think this is global to local issues. And I think the most important is how to make this kind of, all of this facilitation should be sustained and then maintained by the government to be ready whenever outbreaks happen. Yeah. And we also, in the discussion, we learned that as national readiness of for the diagnostic to laboratory who have a BSL type 3, they should have biosafety committee. And in fact, that I think only some of the laboratory have this biosafety committee. So we have to still facilitate and encourage that every laboratory who have BSL type 3 have their own biosafety committee. Yes. And also we discussed about the sustainability and how government can support, facilitate using many quite enough grant in development the technology to make a vaccine or antivirus target, something like that for specific application.
So scientists have a bit of responsibility. It's not just research without some responsibility. They should be looking for antibodies or some way of combating the disease as well.
From the local isolates.
Okay, from local isolates. Okay. I was going to ask you whether there's any intellectual property there, but we'll leave that one. The public.
Okay, I try to make it information related with the public, or what they want to know related with the pandemic of the avian influenza. First of all, that we, as a public, they worry about this disease, so they need to know what the research ongoing related with how to protect the disease and how to treat this disease, and how the facility of the research is safe for the surrounding research lab facility is safe for the people who live surrounding
Yes, okay. The local community.
Yeah, local community. And after that, related with the what the government should prepare related with the regulation, if there is one case in the public, like a chicken suddenly died, and or there is one case suspected avian influenza, what people should prepare for that, and where they should ask, and how the media, or how they inform to the people. That's right.
And do you get enough information from your regulators and from WHO? Is it in a language that you can understand? Do they talk very scientifically, or do they talk in a way that is understandable for the ordinary member of the public?
Yeah, I think mostly are not, it's too scientific, so we need information from the government, especially for uneducated people. So we need information from the government, who's clearly information where just simple information how to protect ourselves. And also maybe we do expect for the media, especially to the journalists, to give right information, not only for personal interests. And maybe the government can give like ethical training to the journalists.
What about the scientists? The scientists are...
Yeah, I think so.
So the media, they're a little, they think you're a bit irresponsible.
Good evening. I would like to clarify some stuff. We're from TVO on tabloid.com, and we're trying to gather the information from each. We had a meeting, a really nice meeting with some of all the bureaucrats and researchers. We've come to the conclusion that scientists, based on the scientific information, that the H5N1 is now airborne, while the institutions is creating mutant and dangerous mutant that can be outbreak and be life-threatening to the world, and the WHO has not been aware of this, and the government is finding solutions for this problem that has been arose, and is busy focusing on whether to publish or not. And we know that the public wants to know whether this is dangerous or not, and whether their family are safe or not, rather than knowing all the regulation that's been created before or after this outbreak happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that discussion. Very rich it was too. And the exercise, again, what we wanted to do here was just show you there is an issue, how you can discuss it and engage people. So you can do this sort of exercise with any particular problem, but it is an opportunity to use and to discuss it with your students or even your colleagues. So it is just a technique that we wanted to demonstrate. but it can be good fun as well, because I heard lots of laughter, and that's what I like. And I heard some raised voices as well, which is even better, really. We didn't have anybody thumping the table with their shoe like Premier Khrushchev used to do, but given time, that might happen. So, thank you very much for that discussion. We're really out of time. I just wanted to show you one final slide, and this is a sort of timeline of the discussion and the regulation of the H5N1 case. So, at a meeting in Malta in 2011, the Dutch researcher Foucher talked about his work on the H5N1, created a lot of interest. Manuscripts were sent to a government regulatory agency in the United States. It's called the National Science Advisory Board for Biosecurity. It's a group of scientists who advise the American president about biosecurity issues. The reason they were involved is because the work that was done on the virus is publicly funded by the United States National Institutes of Health. So the NSABB was asked to look at this. Basically what it said was that there should be if the information was published, it can only be published in limited form. Certain information should be withheld if the publication should go ahead. The WHO convened, World Health Organization convened a meeting. It was purely advisory, but their view was that because of the science involved, even if you withheld some information, because of the science involved, other scientists would be able to replicate the work in their own laboratory, and withholding some of the data wouldn't make any difference at all. So once you put the information out there, others would be able to carry on with the particular work. They recommended that the National Science Advisory Board look at this again. It did, and it reversed its previous decision. So it said, openly published, because we think it's helpful for the general scientific community. So the papers were published, but then the National Institutes of Health held a review meeting, and basically what they asked the scientists to do was to have a moratorium, and actually stop work on this, in this particular area for the moment, whilst people work out how to deal with these particular issues. That moratorium is still in existence. And so people like you were doing today are discussing how we deal with this difficult information, because the answers to this very controversial research, but very important research, it creates lots of issues for us, and they're not easy to solve, and we need to have a wide-ranging discussion, and you were part of that today. So I hope you enjoyed the exercise. Thank you all. It's been a long day. Thank you very much for taking part in the way you have done, and we'll see you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Thank you.